Cool. All right. We are all set up now. I'm just going to run out of frame for 2 seconds, let everybody pile up in here. And I'm actually going to start today off with an article when I get back. So, we got to reorient our focus here. Okay, there we go. And now we all good to go on all the platforms there. Rohith, you already found me, huh? What the heck? What happens if I turn this guy off? Does that improve our backlighting any bit? It looks kind of crazy. All right, I think that does. Cool. Cool. So, yeah, we will kind of start today by going over um, some arrhythmia details and what that looks like through a little article here. So, I'm going to start today off with that, allowing you guys to put a bunch of questions down below. Obviously, we will get started in a couple minutes here. There's our article. All right, cool. So arrhythmia is coming right up. I'll kind of go through that, let all the questions build up on TikTok here, YouTube there. It is not snowing here. Um, from Rohith asking if we got some snow. No, no snow here. Thankfully, we've had enough. All right, cool. I'll be back in a sec. Okay. I should really make a pre-show. I feel like that would help us out a lot. If I made a pre-show, that would be kind of cool. Get on like a, I don't know, either hardcore edits or something cool. But either way, let me actually pull up YouTube and TikTok's chats in here too. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of calls from people. I'll have to wait. You guys come first. Cool. I'm doing pretty well. I don't think I've seen you in here before for the FT Celestial. Is that how you say it? No. All right, we got questions in YouTube. I know I was going to start with an article. I guess I'll implement the article once, maybe when things die down a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. I've always watched but never commented. Well, hello. Welcome to the comment section. How's it feel? Feel free to let us know. But yes, if you haven't seen my posts on this platform just yet, ooh, we are at. Somebody said, turning it off now. He's coming. He's coming. Yes. God, I can't tell. Oh no, Shannon. We're here for health questions. I thought the perverted chaps would only be in the YouTube, but okie doke. So for Sigatara, I don't know if I'm saying that wrong. Let's see if you had any questions in here. Not snowing from Nas. Well, hey, for Sigatar, let us know your question coming in there. With the eye emojis. I see you. See you as you see me. Okay. What are some supplements you would suggest for fitness based people? I think a lot of the time it has a lot to do with microbials for a lot of fitness people because you guys tend to prioritize protein meals like crazy, which is a good thing. Working out like crazy, all good things. It's just sometimes we push that a little bit too far. Like some people that I was on the phone with this morning, actually, just ultra athletes, and they don't stop. So sometimes you can lead to some deficiencies there. I think there are a lot of benefits to fermentable foods, to promoting stomach acid. So, apple cider vinegar, fermentable foods, just for different constituents in there. Good fibers, good vitamin C, good things there. I do think you do have to supplement with potassium because that will lead to a lot of fatigue type symptoms, or you won't be able to hit your previous PRs or your maxes because potassium is huge. So sodium, potassium, just major things to look out for there. And that's not just for fitness people, but the RDA for potassium is like 4,700 milligrams a day. So I don't know anybody, including myself, that gets that amount. Needless to say, um, potassium citrate and making sure you're getting enough proteins in there. Don't be too crazy with avoiding sugars because you're going to need some of that for a high intense athlete person. But at the very least, potassium citrate. And I would want to know where your goals are at. Um, beside that, but there's some other things you could do. Some magnesium in there. It just kind of depends on symptomatology, what's happening on the inside. So feel free to give us more details down below. I'm actually going to change how my computer's oriented here just so that I can kind of look at you guys and the computer. So hmm, let's see. Let's get this out of here. Let's move you. Oh my goodness. All right. Ha. There we go. Now we're front and center. Cool. Easy to fix there. Everybody's still hearing me well. Just want to make sure. I hate when there's issues with audio. So let me know. One's in the chat if the audio is good. Okay. You look like the word positive. First time for everything. Um, Thank you. Doctor, my basement is flooded. Can you help? I would call somebody that can help you in person. Obviously, there are good air filtration that I would want you to implement. I think my triad air filtrations are the best. You can also go with Air Doctor. Air Doctor is very well established too. Tons of accreditation there with filtration of the air, but you want to dehumidify obviously and do all that too. Um, I can't come and help you in person, but there's definitely things we could do, and I would watch out for mold. Mold is going to be a big one. Um, there we go. Give me a couple little bits of room here to rest. Ah, there we go. Quick little alteration there. We'll do our best with this. Okay. Let's go to YouTube. So back to you guys. Okay, I'm coming. I mean, if you do want to schedule a complimentary call there for Sigitara over on YouTube, you can click on my profile and that'll take you to, or on TikTok too. This is for anybody. It'll take you to a complimentary phone call link in there that we could have a combo about all this. How am I doing? Pretty good. Pretty darn good. It's Friday, which is crazy. I didn't even realize it was Friday. Wasn't it snowing recently? Semi recent. Semi recent. We had some crazy snow. All right, back to TikTok. Ticky tack. Let's see. I look like the word positive. Basement flooded. How to lower cholesterol. It's figuring out why it's high. Cholesterol is going to go up whenever there's increased demand for healing, for hormone rebuilding, things like that. Inflammatory processes that go on. You can be holding on to some excess fats within the GI tract or the liver itself. So it kind of depends because your triglycerides are going to add up to that total cholesterol number two. I would want to know where your sugars are at, where your triglycerides are. Give us some more info, but you can do something like Coleus to convert some of those cholesterol molecules down the pathways there into the hormones. But I would want to figure out why it's high. That's most important. Roxanne just got diagnosed with congestive heart failure. What is one thing you would recommend? One thing? That's hard. Neo 40 would probably be the top dog here. So nitric oxide 40. Um, that is available within the bio as well. Cordyceps mushroom, astragalus, which is a liquid herb. So astragalus, AST. I'm learning. I know these names are crazy. To me, they're not crazy. I've been studying these things for years. So I don't really bat an eye when I mention things like this, but you can. I put info and links to all of the research-backed articles that show everything I'm talking about um, within the online store there in my profile. So astragalus, you could check that out. Cordyceps, you could check that out. I do like knowing where certain things are on blood markers and things. So Roxanne, I would schedule a complimentary call along with that as well, so that I could possibly see some of those labs. And maybe we have to run more, but at the very least, nitric oxide 40, cordyceps mushroom. I like astragalus in there, but maybe D3K2, maybe Gotu Cola, maybe ginkgo. There's several others. I would want to know where sugars are at, where other inflammatory processes are going on in the body, because that is what contributes to every single condition on the planet. So, yes, how to get rid of hives? We need to look for histamine responses, inflammatory responses there. Um, Usually it's food coming in, or there can be deficiencies here too. I think, vitamin A is really important to pay attention to, as well as the other fat soluble vitamins for the skin barriers. They're very important there. Doing an organ meat is going to benefit you a lot. Doing something like digestive glandular, so that you get pancreas tissue in there, small intestine, stomach, and liver. For some of the other aminos and enzymatic activity that goes on within those organs, so you can get that through a grass-fed and finished source. Then working on the histamine responses. Things like nettle leaf and albizia, that is a great trio for you to start on there, but you would probably need food allergy testing along with some other microbial testing there. Yes, we can hear you. One's in the chat. I love it. Doc, okay, the hives. Um, my mental health is getting worse. Can you help? Well, your body's creating that response based on the stressors you're interacting with. So when it comes to something like mental health, gut health is where you want to start. That is key. Along with looking at the adrenals, because adrenal hormones are going to play into this, especially in regards to the stress responses. But in terms of neurotransmitter production, that is mainly done in the GI and especially serotonin. So, can you do some things early on, like St. John's, and maybe you could do some acunicetin in there too? But I would want to talk to you some more too, because sometimes certain medications are involved with this, but we would want to look into your GI, maybe doing something like a microbial oats test or oats test. That way, it's nice and easy for you to do. All you do is pee about 10 milliliters in a cup, and we could figure some stuff out for you. So, okay, what did I miss over here? Oh no, let's put that back. There we go. Uh, this week was warmer. Yes, I wish it snows. It was actually really freaking cold recently. Please do. I would enjoy that. Naz and Rohith chatting away. Canned snow. I would love if it does. I guess you don't get much snow over there where you're at. All right. Happy Valentine's tomorrow. There we go. Kind of dark. All natural health, yeah. Chiropractic, holistic health, homeopathy, all the sorts. Happy Hearts Day. Wow. Okay. What's the new light show? Okay. Okay. Cool. So we're all caught up so far. So, cool. Oh, let's get this up here too. All right. So we are going to run through an article here on arrhythmias with the heart. I'm going to read through these. In the meantime, do submit your health questions because I'm going to allow them to build up. I want them to build up. Um, so I see DY Adagara, people submitting stuff already. So keep doing that. Keep building up the questions because I'm going to go rapid fire after I finish the article and we'll dive into all of what you guys are talking about. So let's do it. So, I mean, arrhythmias and really um, restoring some of the rhythm around cardiac arrhythmias because they're really common, but they're not, as crazy complex as they may seem on the surface. But there's certainly plenty that people can do about them. So, um, where are we now? Obviously, most of you guys know that heart disease is number one in terms of mortality rates, even outpacing cancer. But you're going to see a lot more news and a lot more info on things like cancer over heart disease. So I think it's super important. I think cardiac outlooks are horrible within the US. And this is kind of why I wanted to talk about this because I haven't discussed too much cardiac things um, as much as I wanted to. So we're going to do that now. But so why is this? Arrhythmias are basically the heart's timing is offbeat. So whether it be too fast, too slow, you can have irregular beats, unstable heartbeats. Sometimes this is felt as like a flutter within your chest, um, a little thump, racing, dropping beats. You can notice though chest tightness. You can notice some dizziness that goes along with that. You can have breathlessness, even anxiety tags along with these heart arrhythmias because that is part of the story here too. But a quick map is basically you get skips, things that go too fast, heartbeats that go too slow, or unstable ones. So more syncope risk with those. And really, you're going to use um, through diagnostics medically to get an ECG done or an EKG. That way, you can look at the rhythms of that heart, its contractions, relaxations, the pause periods, all the timing in between those things to identify the type of arrhythmia, which can give you some clues as to what's going on. So, pretty regularly, I say diagnoses don't weigh a ton in clinical decision making for me, at least, because diagnoses tell you very little about what's going on. But all that really does is name the rhythm that you have. It doesn't tell you why you have it. Obviously, I'm going to focus a lot on the why for a lot of these things. So, how the whole framework would work here is, well, why does it go offbeat in the first place? Why do you get heart arrhythmia to begin with? And there's multiple things. You can have trauma, so in the form of physical stress, that can lead to things, because the heart is basically an electrical dependent organ system that's also a muscle. It has mitochondria, and its timing is going to depend on signaling, on electrolyte storage there and utilization, on your membrane communication, um, and even some of autonomic nervous system involvement there too. So you can have chemical stressors though, and also mental stressors that leads to heart arrhythmias. So some of the chemical things that can go on, and this is probably the biggest area. You can have electrolyte changes. These are kind of the first place to start, really common for people to hear about, especially things like magnesium, stuff like that. And we'll get into some of the why of that happens and things. But magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium are really the big ones to pay attention to because they're going to control a lot of that signaling with contraction, relaxation, things like that. So, what can happen is you can have most commonly, low magnesium and low potassium stores. Like I was saying, actually, at the start of this live, for a couple people already, low potassium is huge because you can't really measure it that well. And really, the best way to go about it is getting enough in through the diet per day, which we'll go over some of those foods and things. But potassium's minimum RDA, so like the minimum amount that you should be getting is 4,700 milligrams. That is a lot. That is a lot. Obviously, your size will depend a little bit on that, but low magnesium, low potassium, you can get some relatively high sodium, and that can change, obviously, making it harder for the heart to repolarize and carry through with different contractions, relaxations, things like that. So you can increase the skips or the beats or the flutters of a heart arrhythmia just by having minerals that are off, just by having electrolytes um, that have been thrown off. And like I said, the biggest ones: potassium, magnesium, sodium, calcium. Those are the biggest ones by far. And a lot of people are deficient in most of them. Probably the biggest one, sodium is a big piece there. Potassium as well, though. Magnesium too. And why that is because every beat of the heart depends on ions flowing. So those ions need to be donated from electrolytes and give that ionic signal so that you can create an electrical change and have the channels open or closed and exchange fluids. So also muscle activation and things like that too. So small shifts in there, or even a little deficiency here or there, can lead to that type of arrhythmic heartbeat. And where it can start to come from, we talked about low mineral intake, being on a diuretic because that's going to deplete minerals. Potassium, or sorry, proton pump inhibiting meds, so things that are going to lower lower stomach acid. High stress will do the same. That'll deplete minerals. Sweating like crazy. So this is why I mentioned the athletes in the beginning, and low carb with low mineral repletion there. So food wise, how you can deplete electrolytes, ultra processed foods and seed oils. And there's research to back it too. So what can happen, excess linoleic acid and refined carbs will raise oxidative stressors and thin mitochondrial membranes. So in that process, the heart basically runs on mitochondria. You inhibit some of that function, you get more fragile membranes, and you can't essentially create power as easily because the heart is a muscle. So you need electricity there. There's also halogens that are involved here that can inhibit some of that either absorption or increase the utilization of it or increase depletion of it, even thyroid disruptors too. So, fluoride and bromine are the biggest ones, very commonly used in a lot of grains, and fluoride in basically all of city water. So, these compete with iodine and will nudge on those thyroid receptors and inhibit them from binding certain hormones there. So, now you start to switch from having a normal idle speed there, like kind of like an R car engine that's running all the time. You want to have a good idle. Same thing. If you start to inhibit some of that thyroid function, you can get little hits or drops in some of that. And chlorine, definite player here too, but that's a halogen as well. So a lot of the halogens, fluoride being really, really common one, bromine, chlorine, oleines really, and alcohol and stimulants. This is a big one, especially for the vapors out here, um, which is usually some people in the chat at least. Some of the vapors, alcohol, stimulants, even some energy drinks there, you're going to get sympathetic tone to response like crazy, um, because you are activating sympathetic tone by doing something like a stimulant, or crazy amounts of caffeine. So, pretty big things to pay attention to in regards to that. And now you start to overdrive that, depleting magnesium a ton, lowering all the minerals. Um, make sure that we're not getting crappy sources of these things either, because that's a big one. Like poor caffeine sourcing is going to contain some mycotoxins, and that is going to have your body bind things up immediately and put them in your bladder very quickly. So that's why you can pee really often when you start drinking some Dunkin' or some Starbucks and have to pee immediately because there's pesticide use in there, um, mycotoxins that are in there, and your bladder is going to take all your electrolytes, use them to bind that up, exchange fluids, and then put that in your bladder. And then you keep depleting things that way too. So, lot of chemical things that can go on, sleep. So more of the physical things that can go on here too. Sleep apnea, airway obstruction. Obviously, dips in oxygen are going to put you at a risk for arrhythmia there. You're going to lead to snoring, headaches, things like that. Illnesses, infections, being inflamed. My goodness, that is a huge one. Having a fever, some post-viral shift that can go on there, leading to some heart irritability. You can have some mechanical strain, whether it be mechanics within the thoracic outlet, the shoulders, the upper neck or lower neck, how all that is oriented. Even posture can alter autonomic tone. Sorry, um, with the spinal nerves that exit there, and now you're having poor communication go on from somatic to visceral responses, and deconditioning or overexertion. So low fitness or exerted, low fitness or too high of fitness. So the people that work out like maniacs are the people that don't work at all. That's basically the thoughts there. And speaking of thoughts, the mental stressors that can be involved here. Stress is a physiological stressor and will affect any and all cell signaling. Obviously, acute stress, you're going to get wide varieties of catecholamines that will flood the system, leading to quicker heart rates, changes in variability there, and a bunch of stuff that is not fun. But now that we hit a good pause break for the article, let's tackle some of these comments that came in. Okay, we went through Valentine's Day. New late night show, never heard of it. Mrs. Beautiful, hello. We'll get to the YouTube ones in a second here. Let us discuss, can reducing carbs and sugar without exercise get rid of belly fat? It could, if your caloric intake is low enough, certainly can. Is creatine good for you? Very widely studied, very safe. Great things. Good day. I want to ask, good day to you too. um, why am I having some shortness of breath even at rest? Can be some potassium deficiencies here, especially if you're going up a flight of stairs, having that happening. Even some muscle weakness here. I would be curious of that. Heart palpitations. I would be curious of that. Dizzy spells. Um, this looks like some deficiencies here. Could be. Could be. There's also air quality that we need to pay attention to, and inflammatory chemical things that can go on, with food practices and things. So, had TB history 2016. Is it normal to feel this? There may be some chronic long term damage going on there. Yeah, that is possible. You could do some OSHA, help dilate the lung tissue that way too. Alex, another asthma type question here too. Shortness of breath. I have asthma, and if I use my inhaler, After 4 hours, it comes back. Yeah, it's a steroid. So it's going to dilate the lungs, help with that a bunch. And when the wears off, it's going to come back because it didn't fix the original problem or figure out why you need the inhaler in the first place. So I'd want to start there. Inflammatory use of food is a really commonplace. People are highly inflamed throughout the US and the rest of the world here too. How do you feel about fasting? It depends. I don't like fasting for certain cases when it comes up to females because you can really have a negative effect on hormones there. It depends on the individual. Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon from me. Oh boy. These are your health questions that we're going over here, kids. Morning, Doc. Have a great day. You too. My flutters went away when I started magnesium. See, guys? I'm not crazy here. All right, let's pop over to YouTube. We'll come back to those. How about, oh boy. Okay. Hi, Doc. I have a question. What is the right way I can take weed? What the? Like making joints? Okay. You would want to do a tincture because there's actually some benefit there. Your entire body has an endocannabinoid system. So it is not foreign to your body. That is a plant that comes from the earth. I just, really highly encourage people to beware of the lab grown things that are happening because very similar to a lot of the food in the US, I think if it hasn't happened already, which it probably has, the quality of these things is going to start to change, and even things that are being done genetically with those plants and things really strong nowadays. And just make sure you're doing things properly. Tincture form is best. You'll help with melatonin. You'll help with a lot of oxidative stress. You'll help with mental stress in general. You have an entire endocannabinoid system in your body, so don't let the internet confuse you. That is funny. Almighty, thank you for making me laugh. Sorry, I'm going through some YouTube stuff. Okay, immigration questions. So we're gonna keep going on the health questions. Um, You still have the same question for vitamins. I don't know what that means. How does hyponatremia or hypernatremia present in an ECG? So that is a great question for a medical provider and somebody that would be running that test. I don't run those tests every day. This is why we have medical providers. They're there to save our lives, keep us alive longer, but they don't make you healthy. And that's proof is in the pudding. We're the sixth country we've ever been. And yeah, my 2 cents there. Okay, so let's go here. By the way, oh, well, there's some tapping in the background. Sorry, that's when I click on my computer. I think. Let me know if the tapping is still happening. It shouldn't be. There should be no tapping. But on this mic, there could be some tapping going on. Let me know. One's in the chat if there's no chat tapping. Two's in the chat if there is tapping. Still, currently. Let me know. I'll try and fix it. The mic's shaking. Usually it's stabilized pretty well. I don't know, maybe I can do a little switch here. See if that little switch worked. Can I lower my chair anymore? I'm kind of hunched over here. My ergonomics are suffering. All right. Let me know if the tapping is still continuing. Hopefully not. Happy Valentine's Day. Rama, some freaking crazy thing. Okay. Hyperthyroid question. Good question. Let's do it. Fire away. Favorite thing to eat? Probably beef. Probably my favorite thing. So much density there. I had the opportunity to buy vitamin D from Sweden. I hope it was something. Okay. Back pain because of this. Muscle strain. Okay. Sorry, I hate burping in the microphone. For ST4R, we've got a hyperthyroid question. For the next 2 weeks, you could probably do 2 cups of soy milk a day. Find the best source that you can. But that's going to downregulate the thyroid a lot. And it's going to help us out here as we can start to figure some things out. But this is more than likely an autoimmune scenario. So there are um, immune regulating things that we need to start supporting with. Number one, like Romania, um, maybe even cat's claw, Japanese knotweed, great things that work with autoimmune and inflammatory responses there. I do need to know your vitamin D. I do need to know food intake a lot more. This is not a simple one-off thing that we can get through here. There's certainly some things you could start with, like the inflammatory or anti-inflammatory things that I mentioned. But yeah, with a hyperthyroid case, you want to get a little bit more involvement. Yeah. Best way to stop smoking cigarettes, probably some Makuna seed and then finding a different pathway to get that in the body. You could do something like Knick-Knack Naturals um, for the oral fixation thing and slowly lower your dosage that way. But the Makuna seed will help a lot with cravings and things there because you're going to have the precursors to dopamine there. So there you go. Wonderful advice. Hope you take it. Um, how can I get it back to normal without surgery? I do not see a username or anything in there, so I don't know what you're talking about. Um, Rest permanent solution for asthma breathing problem. Had to use an inhaler recently, so I don't do this for that approach. That is what has failed pretty much everybody in the chat here. There's a reason why this is happening, and we need to figure out the reasons for that. Um, in the short term, can you do? Whoa, screwed up our focus there. In the short term, you can do something like OSHA. You can do some Albizia. You can do some colloidal silver nasal spray, help with some things going on there microbial, which can happen and mess up some of the airways there. But yeah, you're in a chronic inflammatory state, and if you don't figure out what is creating inflammation in the body, you're never gonna get off the inhaler. Um, but yeah, food is a place to start looking for and testing for. Lincoln Bio there if you need help. The GI, looking at some blood work. Great things. There's a lot that can happen there. Okay. BS questions in YouTube. Let's see if we have anything valuable worth of discussion. Okay. So we covered all our stuff in YouTube and TikTok. Again, guys, health questions. I do not care about anything else you mention in here. If it's funny, I'll read it. If it's a health question, I'll read it. Otherwise, don't care at all. Really don't. So the Swiss watch. Let's go back into heart arrhythmias here. I didn't finish that article there, so we'll keep plowing through this. So we talked through mental, chemical, physical stressors that can affect us here. How this all ties in, because this is really how I think here. Everything is connected. You cannot separate organs in the body. If you stub your freaking toe, your heart's going to change, your mood's going to change, blood pressure, everything. So your body responds to every single stressor that it comes into contact with, even the things that you can't see or feel. So symptoms do not guide your health. If you don't have a disease, that does not mean you're healthy. So Swiss watch and kind of putting the full story together here. If stomach acid does drop, like from inflammatory foods, from constant mental stress, from poor posture leading to autonomic responses there with nerve root endings, stomach acid can drop and minerals will not absorb as much. Even things like iron and B12, but that will also change the orientation of the stomach and how it interacts with the diaphragm. So even just having low stomach acid or being fat, having a bunch of fat on your belly, I mean, looking down is a great health marker. If you have a belly, you are not healthy, um, and that's going to push up on the diaphragm and lead to again more shortness of breath and changing the angle of the heart a little bit and creating some arrhythmia that way. Plus the low mineral um, intake there, you're leading to some nerve changes. you're leading to muscle excitability. Mitochondria are going to become more fragile and be more porous. So electrolytes or yeah, electrolytes can leak out and things like that. You can disrupt some of the thyroid idling going on, autonomic things that can change, a bunch of things. Important tests to consider because you don't want to guess with your health. That's the whole thing here. We don't guess with anything. There's no protocol here. That's a pretty flawed way of thinking there. That you guys are all responding to different stressors every day. You have entirely different um, responses and adaptations that occur within your body. So why are we giving everybody a globalized approach to take one freaking thing for one freaking diagnosis? That makes no sense at all. So, in my opinion, electrolyte and mineral status, you can easily get this tested for through CMP. A lot of people will get this done. CMP can look at sodium, potassium, calcium changes. It won't look for magnesium. Magnesium is a little bit different testing for that. And why it's really going to look at the ions that you have to donate toward cell signaling. Also, thyroid issues, not just TSH for crying out loud, not just TSH and a T4. TSH, T4 total, T4 free, T4 total, T4 free, reverse T3, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, thyroid globulin antibodies, um, tons of things. So nobody's getting that adequately tested for, not from what I've seen in the past several years. Inflammation, metabolic tones. So looking at HSCRP, not just CRP, HSCRP, high sensitivity. Ferritin, obviously iron stores there too. Fasting insulin, glucose, great things to look at. A1C as well. The liver and the GI coordination influences beta glucuronidase on short chain fatty acids, additional yeast, bacteria, calprotectin. All these can inhibit bile removal of toxicity, which will build up and recirculate. Even your own hormones can recirculate and they can become toxic to you. Um, a lot of people don't realize that. And heart rate variability, there can be some changes there. More so evaluating something like a vagal tone, so how well you're getting parasympathetic stimulation and things like that. But the approach is now okay, dietarily, you want to remove irritants for heart arrhythmias and things like this that go on. These are kind of your initial steps. Removing seed oils, swap into something like butter. You could use avocado oils, you could use coconut oil, olive. Make sure it's good sourcing there because a lot of them aren't that great. Refined sugars, alcohol, get them out of your life. You're going to have wide effects on sympathetic drive there and oxidative stress. If you have high histamine triggers too, a lot of that's going to be around um, food quality and air. So, doing a lot of fermentable foods can give you constituents, donors, um, getting things like eggs, leafy greens, all the good methyl donors in there too. Remineralizing your plate, leaning into a lot of magnesium rich foods, pumpkin seeds, leafy greens, chocolate, but in the form of raw cacao, um, either remineralized water or spring water, fantastic, and even more. Some of the potassium rich foods there too. You could do avocado, you could do salmon, squash. Obviously, if you do something like coconut water, which is a very good source of potassium, you could do unsweetened coconut water. There's going to be a lot of sugar in there. Salt quality too. You're going to get like 82 minerals when you take in a good type of salt there. So that's really key to look for. And to go after some of the more GI things that can happen there with bile and stomach acid reduction, you do want to slow down when you're eating things. Slow down, chew your food, have some relaxed meals. Try and slow down as much as you can. A lot of people just huff food down, especially guys. Bitters before your meals, apple cider vinegar, lemon, and not just the lemon juice, but blending up the entire lemon. You're going to get way more out of it. Obviously, you want organic and clean stuff and all that. Um, you can do something like Digestwell Complex here. Can do something like chamomile, but not to get too fancy. You could start there. More targeted things if you're trying to replenish magnesium in the form of taurate or glycinate, especially at night, can be great. especially helping with sleep and some of the stability there with heartbeats and things. Potassium citrate is the ideal thing to look for. That way you can repolarize during steady rhythms there. Or just getting like an electrolyte blend. You could do something like Ultima, really good one. Um, there's a lot of things to consider there, but let's before we go through some of these other ones, head back into the chats because I'm chatting for a while here. Favorite thing to eat, vitamin D thing, KK. Okay. Yeah, I do work throughout the weekends as well, so you can book calls there. Prediabetes, your body's creating that response from what you've been doing to it. So you've been in either a very high stress environment or consuming way too much sugar or both. So drop your sugars down. You can do something like Gymnema and Oregon grape to combat some of those responses. So totally. How much protein should I eat if I want to lose weight? I would go to the wellnessway.com and type in protein calculator because this is going to need to be a personalized number. I don't know anything about you. I'm really curious about the genetic markers. I wouldn't be, because if you just eat enough eggs, those would change. Can tea have a bad effect? It could, depending on sourcing and how much tea you're doing. It can irritate the stomach a little bit. How do I brush my teeth well? We're going to skip over that one. I found out smoked oysters help with stomach pain and headaches after drinking. I think you should stop drinking. I do intermittent fasting and it helped me lose weight. Okay. Intermittent fasting different from full-blown fasting, so I'm not against doing things intermittently at all. I'm against fasting over 72 hours in certain cases for women. Um I don't know what I was explaining, sorry. I don't eat dinner. I make my other meals healthy and balanced. I like that. I like doing if you are going to do intermittent fasting and things, I would rather you much rather you do a big high protein breakfast and a later lunch and then skipping dinner. Skip dinner. But you got to make sure you're getting in enough during those other times. Most women don't. I am from New Jersey. What's your opinion of Islam? This is a health question and answer. I mean, like it's in the title. Isn't diabetes also genetic? Until it changes in my office. So people say basically everything I ever interact with a patient with, they say it's genetic until it changes. Unless it was from birth, it's not genetic. Move? If you meant move your body, or did you mean because I'm in New Jersey? Either way, that's funny. Okay, let's go and see what's happening on YouTube. I'm not feeling too hopeful here. He says, chill out, man. I'm trying to. It's just these questions are very irritating sometimes. And when I give people probably some of the best possible advice that you could get, and they don't take any action, that drives me nuts, dude. That drives me nuts. But either way, all right, we are 52 minutes in. We're gonna do a quick little halftime, um, and then I'll be back. So keep hanging out. I'm gonna finish the rest of the article here. If we don't have too many questions when we come back, but spam some health questions in here so that I can go rapid fire through them because I've been going too slow for some of you people, but then I go too fast for others. So make up your damn minds. I love Gabe Owens. Cool. Don't care. Don't care at all. Um, YouTube, I might switch you guys to subscribers only because the brain rotten comments are just like the non health question ones are very annoying, you know? So, health questions, please. TikTok is very good at this. You guys are awesome over on TikTok. YouTube, I don't know what I have to say here. I made the title, I did all that stuff. All right, I'll be right back. Okie doke. I like barreled in here. I'm actually kind of glad I did halftime because there were some patients that were reaching out. They needed. How about now? YouTube mic went off, so we were quick with another. Whoa. Why are you so weird, Mr. Mike? I think we're good. Okay. But yeah, if you're in school, I think there's a lot of value in doing something like an adrenal glandular along with some bacopa. That way, you're influencing the brain, the hypothalamus, you're getting neural inflammation down, you're working on brain derived nerve growth factors, short term, long term memory. And then the adrenal glandular, that is only for you to do in the morning or a little bit after lunch. But send me a message. I would want to help you out a little bit with dosing because I would want to know how much you weigh and some other things. So, uh, Lisa May, I have a question. Ask your question away. And happy Friday the 13th. Ooh, spooky, huh? I saw that today too, and I was like, whoa, it's the 13th. That's crazy. So I thought it was cool. Um, it's kind of weird how it falls on a Friday, you know? Actually, fun fact, we'll put a pause here. Keep submitting your health questions. Um, Friday the 13th was filmed in my town. Isn't that cool? That's a flex, right? Deservant, deservant of a flex. Friday the 13th, filmed right in my town. Pretty cool. But yeah, Blairstown. Check her out. I'm pretty pretty proud of it. Oh, we got some low battery. Good thing I got a charger. Okay, let's sneak us through. Stick the landing. We made it. We made it to safety. Okay, now we in business. That's right. Now we in business. Oh, this messed up our focus. Did it? Oh, we're really messed up. There we go. I keep raking my hair through and then it throws off the YouTube camera. So we're going to try and go for a long ass live today, though. It is Friday. Technically, I'm closed um, during these times because we do basically mornings on Fridays, but I own the clinic, so I do what I want, you know? Anyways, damn it, I messed up my YouTube camera again. Freaking, come on, focus. Focus here. There we go. It did it. Um, okay, let's get serious. Let's get serious, people. I tied a scarf. Okay. What could be the reason for sudden palpitations? So good timing. We went through. I think you could rewind the live. We went through an article on arrhythmia. I'm actually not all the way through it yet. We're about probably three quarters of the way through. So I'll go through some of that if we run out of questions here. But potassium is a big one to look for. Magnesium is a big one to look for. You would want to get a potassium citrate. Um, link in bio there for the store, and magnesium there as well. We call ours relax powder. But yeah, those are just really common minerals to get depleted in, and your heart is a muscle and it has mitochondria, so you need those minerals to control cellular exchange and contract muscles, especially with calcium and magnesium. So, but yeah, your four minerals there: sodium, potassium, magnesium, um, calcium are going to be huge in terms of that question. Can you? Sorry, where was that? Yeah, can you do probably a little bit passion flower or something so that you can calm down some of the muscle there, get a lot of GABA into the system, of course. But I would need to know, is this more of a stress thing that's going on, or like if you look down, is there belly fat? Like what's going on here? There's something. Did I see your question? I don't think so. I covered all of the ones recently here. Hello, Bungani. Kimberly, what's poppin'? Nystagmus is way worse. This not be related to the brain. Yeah, it definitely is. Um, the occipital lobes in the brain. Your body's under a lot right now, from what I know, and there are probably major deficiencies going on here. Um, so, this is a jam packed question with a lot of neurological and immunological responses occurring, and I want to speak to you on the phone. I know we've been trying to coordinate a call, um, but I keep catching you either during nap time or when you're in the hospital. So we'll jump on a call today, though. I'll call you. Or schedule a call in the link in bio. Then you get a definite call time. Adika says hello. Hey, how we doing? Okay, let's jump to Can I respond to comments on this? No. So Sir, what is it? Sir Pico 30333. I can respond to people. There, I addressed your thing. I'm not going to speak into it just because it's nothing to do with the health question. So, yes, visceral fat is there. So, okay. So, we may have some sugar metabolism issues. You can do gymnema, you can do Oregon grape, you can do potassium citrate. And I would probably want you to do some coleus there. That way, you can convert those fats down. You can work a lot on the sugar utilization and absorption by mitochondria, helping out with the beta cells of the pancreas, sensitizing insulin a lot, helping with things microbially too from a bacterial perspective, even some yeast that goes on there from the benefits of gymnema and things. But if you click on my profile and go into the online store, under each thing I say, there is the descriptions of what they all do and then all the research articles along with them. So check that out. Could be really helpful. But yeah, what's the difference between muscle gain and fat gain? Well, adipose tissue is going to come from excess caloric intake no matter what it is. So you're going to stack on fat tissue very easily for a lot of people. And this is because daily energy expenditure is decreased. So when you muscle gain is fantastic. Muscle uses a ton of energy. So key thing to look for. But yeah, I mean in general, muscles will help you handle a lot more sugar. Obviously, there's going to be more involvement with water and things there, but fat is something that you want to obviously avoid having excess of. Nobody likes being fat. What would you do if you feel like you were misdiagnosed? I got prescriptions for a year. I would go to another doctor. When you go to a doc, you get an opinion. So you get a second one, and a third one, and a fourth one, and a fifth one. Is there a way to treat ringing in the ears? Usually there is some fluid balance that you're holding on to so you can have excess water weight. That can play a lot into this. And microbially, there's a lot that goes on microbially. There can also be a lot of physical barriers that can play a role here, especially with the upper cervical spine and how that interacts with some of the cranial nerves for hearing and sensory things. Even balance and coordination are heavily involved with the ears. So I would see a chiro, number one. That could probably be the most affordable way to tackle this. I'd be curious if you are holding on to fluids and if you have had any disruption within the GI. So I'm answering your question by asking you questions. Yeah, let us know. Okay, cool. I like how you guys are retracting your messages now that you're afraid of me saying that they're not health questions on YouTube, at least. I've had insomnia for years. It's been on a lot. Flash forward 3 years later, nothing different. Oh my goodness. We got to get your phone out of your hands, my friend. You got to get some blue light glasses or change the settings on your phone to not have blue light on. You can do some melatonin paired with alcidonia. That would be the most cost effective way to go about this. Link is in bio there. You'd want to take those hour and a half before bed. I would do the full dose of each and maybe do a backup when you're eating. You don't want to be eating close to bed either. But blue light glasses, alcidonia, melatonin, and we'll solve that problem for you. Very confident there. And then Miss Sophia, with a crazy name in front that I'm going to mispronounce, says, "Hey." And I say, "Hello to you too, my friend. My docs are no help. They don't get me anywhere because I think it's too complex." Well, hey, we got to take a step back. We got to rebuild the house. Stop watering it down. Um, but yeah, I think when you're in a very intense case like that, it is medical and holistic realms that you see the best results with because you do need kind of that fire department system right now to perform a surgery or give you medications and things like that. But yeah, I think there's more to the story here, especially from inflammatory means, deficiencies here, some toxicity that can go on there too. Hello from Vancouver. Sorry, I'm looking at the chats on my laptop today just because it's really easy. And in the periods where you guys are coming up with more questions, I'm going to be going through articles with you guys on a lot of the things that you're mentioning. So that'll be cool. I haven't finished the heart arrhythmia and heart palpitation article, so we will finish that up here too. And like I said, today's going to be a long live, so get strapped. We're in here for a while. Um, aside from pee breaks, but you know. Okay, I don't have. I think there's an ability to pause the live or something, but whatever. We'll let it roll. Hello from Indonesia. Hello. Wow. I use my phone max 2 hours a day. Wow. I was put on Dopaquil. So let's have a mechanism of action for this guy. Ooh, okay. And this is going to be something with dopamine, so they're probably trying to block dopamine. Yep. Well, yeah, I would wonder if they did a neurotransmitter test on you before doing that. And if not, I would want to see where those neurotransmitters are at right now. And that could probably give us a lot more answers than you currently have. And that way you know how to support the brain directly. So, Nikisha, I'm sorry to hear that, but there's answers that we can find. Hello from California. Greetings from Bolivia. Dang, you guys are from all over today. All right, let's go back to you two. I've been kind of ignoring you guys. Do I have lip filler? What, dude? This is a health Q&A. Why would I have lip filler? We're about reducing toxicity here, not increasing toxicity. Dumbass question. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Is neck traction good or bad? Um. Oh, I thought that your question was way different. I read like the first half and I kind of skipped over the rest. Neck traction can be awesome. There are some decent devices out there that you can self control and self regulate. I do like inversion tables as well, just because you're going to have more cervical spine effects with something like a cervical traction device versus a inversion table that's going to have a lot more pull on the low back. So I have a religious question. This is a health Q&A, dude. Tell me, doc, ask your question, please. Sorry, getting phone calls. What is a convex lens? Like easily Googleable questions here. Hello, I'm new here. How you doing? What country? America. How are you? Doing well. Okay, health questions, people. Health questions. Why you rate doctor but no medical advice? Because there's different kinds of doctors in the world. A PT is a doctor of physical therapy. Chiro is a doctor of chiropractic. List goes on. A medical doctor is a doctor of medicine. There's multiple types of doctors. I don't know why every single person's confused on this. Okay. What do you think of transcranial magnetic stimulation for dementia? There can be something to that. I do think that there's a lot more to do with sugar metabolism. Type 3 diabetes is basically Alzheimer's and dementia. If you didn't know that already, it certainly is. Sugar is going to create that condition. So getting your sugar down, probably doing no sugar for a very long time, probably 3 to 6 months, depending on what's going on with the patient. Some L-Dopa in there, some Bacopa, some Ginkgo, Gotu Kola, and I would start there. Maybe even Gymnema, Oregon grape. What's the difference between? Okay, another dumbass question. Isn't there? There isn't any neurotransmitters test. I ran one this morning. What are you talking about? ZRT Labs does them all the time. There's several different labs you can get them from. Obviously, if you do them through me, they're going to be a lot cheaper, but that's because I can get them for you, basically. Like if you do a Dutch test on your own, it's $500. Um, I can do it for $355. So pretty cool. Health question? That's not a health question. We got some crazy in here. Hello, I'm back. A lot of happy Valentine's things. Okay, no real questions here. My ears ringing for almost 2 years. Holy moly. So stressful and depressing. Yeah, there you can have something as simple as a mineral deficiency here. You can have potassium deficiency. Could be as simple as that. Can be issues going on with the cervical spine. Can be issues going on with sugar, some microbial things. So message me or book a free call, and we can figure that out. Watching from the Philippines. Health anxiety sufferer here. Blood and stool. Oh my goodness. Possibly a little clot. Do I panic now? I think we've panicked enough. Some of the stress can actually create those responses. So, California poppy, chamomile, ashwagandha, slippery elm, so that you can promote good protective mucosal linings in two of those, have some immune effects, some effects on neutrophils, on some of the autoimmune type of responses going on there, and help with the stress response going on here too. So, California poppy, slippery elm, chamomile, ashwagandha. I would do those four, and I would book a free call. So, two things you could do there. What does that mean? It means that your body's trying to adapt and it's having to change the expression of genes in order to do so. Texas. Nice. I love my people from Texas. Tapping in from Clarks County Correctional Center. See, like that's fun, dude. That is very fun. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Check it out soon. No. What are these questions, bro? What are these questions? Ooh, I'm in a depression due to my career decisions. Okay, so there can be some early on support there. You could do some St. John's. You could do some Makuna seed. Some easier things there. H. pylori positive, you got to get stomach acid up. That's why it's happening. B10HCl or a digestible complex. And for the acne thing, you could have a vitamin A deficiency, or there can be some connections here with things going on microbially and with the sugar components going on. You have probably some microbial issues going on, and your skin's trying to push that out. If not, there can be some hormonal changes going on here too. Can be a hormone thing with your androgens. So I want to check that out too. Can you please follow me? Hell no. Do not ask me ever again. Where do you do your research for all these supplements? For in the supplement store or the online store that I have, in each description, there are at least 6 articles backing each one. Those are not the only articles out there, but how medicine develops medications is they have to study natural things first. So all the research is already done on everything that I'm talking about. Um, and I highly encourage you guys to go and check that out. In terms of finding them, that's a different story. That takes a lot longer. Okay. Okay, so the relevant genes that were on the thing I sent, what does that mean? I didn't memorize them. I would have to look them at them again there. Um, but gene testing is meh. I am Italian. Okay, no more health questions on YouTube. I don't know why you guys. It's a health Q&A, guys. I don't care about anything else. Um, we want to help you. Recently peed blood after lifting heavy. Is that concerning? Yes. We're officially back. We got, let's see how much battery we got. All right, we got like 40%. So we're good for a decent chunk of time, yeah. Um, cool. I'm no longer blurry. I know that we're back. Come on. Either way, let's see where we left off. Oh, it reset the chat. That is very unfortunate. Okay. Let's see if YouTube did any of that. So for the guys on TikTok, sorry, the internet cut out. Submit those questions again. I'm sorry. Okay, are you Italian? Boom. I am off shift, so that's why we're going live. Chat disconnected. Okay, let me try and reconnect. All right, this chat's working on TikTok, so I got you guys. All right, we got this one too. Cool. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but it worked to get us back in here. We're still at 85 minutes in, so I guess it takes a second for the internet to catch up. Um, Cool. Well, let's see what we got so far. Ooh, Miss Lexi. What do you know about frontal lobe epilepsy? Man, just been diagnosed with it. I see a lot, depending on age, depending on a couple things here. I see a lot of toxicity associated with this. There can be mold issues, there can be vaccination issues, there can be extreme deficiencies here. Obviously, the GI will play into this too, but I would want to know there's definitely been some type of chemical exposure there. Um, I would wonder what was done in terms of lab testing, scans, things like that. So, Lexi, let us know. And I'm very sorry to hear that. Husband has severe health anxiety. What can I do to help him? You could do L-theanine and California poppy, and it will start to get some of those anxiety-bound feelings down. Um, you could schedule a call with me as well. Link is in bio. All right. Are we back on YouTube? One's in the chat if we are back on YouTube. I think Noah had a good. Was that? Oh no, Maruna said buffering. Okay. One's in the chat. Perfect. Thanks, Carolina. Yeah, I've seen you in here. We got some regulars popping in. Love it. Submit those health questions. Let's run through it all. Um, we still got to get through our article here too. Worked well at getting us to have questions flood in here. How to gain weight. Interesting. Caloric intake needs to be high enough, and you do have to figure out. Jeez, man. Okay, how to gain weight. Caloric intake needs to be high enough. Proteins need to be high enough, and your expenditure needs to be underneath that caloric intake. So you might be somebody that you can fry through some calories there. That is a little bit harder to figure out. You would want to do something like an in-body scan, something like that. Live keeps going down on YouTube. Um, Sorry for the stream interruptions on YouTube. I've never had issues like this, but since the Wi-Fi cut out before, I guess this phone's bugging out. So sorry if it cuts out again. I'll try and go quicker though. So gaining weight, I mean, you want to obviously look at stomach acid so that you can absorb more. Doing something like Digest-Well Complex available through Store and Bio there. Digest-Well Complex. You could probably do some digestive glandular so that you can get proper enzymatic flushing when you are eating meals, and doing those before you're eating is going to be primarily what you want to do there. Um, but also getting stress down and helping you. Sometimes people have insulin too low, so I'll be curious of that too. But feel free to give us more. Toxic Fit Babe, let us know. Doctors think the cystic lesion on my kidney is a possible tumor. Now doing a CT. Okay, I'm glad they are. Let's find if that's the case. That's what medicine's there for, man. A lot of people think I'm against medicine. It's like, excuse me, we're alive longer than ever. Um, we're not the healthiest we've ever been. We're actually the sickest we've ever been, so that's a whole different story. But yeah, what's the fastest way to lose weight without bouncing back? Caloric reduction, getting your fibers up, getting protein up, reducing your sugars, resistance training, sprinting, taking something like thyroid glandular, supporting your liver, doing something like Sisandra, probably some Gymnema, Oregon grape in there as well. I feel like I have ADHD. I'm scared to pursue medical course. So tons and tons of things that you can do in the meantime. And getting your sugar, this is part of that weight loss story here too, because the brain is going to be heavily influenced on the GI and the immune system, because those signaling from the GI is going to feed into your nervous system there. So if dopamine's getting low, you could do something like Bacopa, and I would say probably kava or Makuna seed could do you some benefit there by just getting you precursors to dopamine and things. But you do want to be watching out how much technology you're using and stuff, because I mean that could really weigh on you in terms of chemical mediators that are present there. Rose is saying hi. Hello, Rosa. Sorry, this freaking YouTube live keeps spazzing out. Let me let's see if that works. Tried to tried to get her to work. PCOS question. Your body's creating PCOS to try and adapt to what's going on. There's an issue with insulin, so you need to focus on helping out your pancreas here. I would like to start you on something like digestive glandular. That way, you're getting pancreas tissue into your body and doing something like gymnema along with white peony. That way, you're working on the aromatase conversion of the androgens, taking your high testosterone and things down into your estrogens. There may be some methyl group depletion there with certain liver conversion pathways, which is why I mentioned the digestive glandular, along with taking in that pancreatic tissue. This will also have effects on the brain. The digestive system is crazy in terms of its influence on the brain there, as we just mentioned. But yeah, I mean, glandulars are great. Maybe you could do a reishi mushroom in there too if you really want to get crazy. That way we could support a little bit of the androgen conversion there too and have a lot of immune factors coming in there. So that's going to help with more of the back end things that go on from an immune system standpoint that a lot of people aren't going to mention to you. But yeah, your body's creating PCOS from the internal environment and stressor interaction. So we got to reverse what's happening there, or support your body in the opposite direction. So insulin handling is the biggest thing by far. Long-term acid reflux. Does the throat heal each time or does it do permanent damage? So it can heal. Your body does heal itself. You just need to introduce the right constituents that can do those things. Something like aloe vera juice paired with digestible complex can suit you really well early on. Doing something like digestive glandular again, or organ meats that are going to be feeding into the tissues that are right next to that esophageal tissue. I do like chamomile. I do like slippery elm, but this is gonna you're gonna need some testing here. I would love to see some blood work and go from there. Book a free call. Link is in bio. Um, Thank you, Doc. It's really nice to have you here. That's why we're here doing this on a Friday. Because you know what? It is Friday, and a bunch of people are going out, doing fun things. I could sure as hell take the rest of the day. I do not have, I only see people in the mornings on Friday. But I would rather do a nice long live because sick people do not catch a break. I don't know if you know this, but on a Christmas night, on a holiday night, there is somebody sick out there that does need help. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here doing this. Focused on what really matters in the world, trying to change that world one person at a time, having a significant impact. But I was on steroids once last year for about 4 months. Just got off 2 months ago. I'm worried about long term risks. Don't worry, as long as we're going to be doing the right supportive things post of that usage there. You know, being immune suppressive, we got to now build some things up, but that could certainly be done. I do it with everybody. Tell me about acne. Acne, biggest things to look for. Probably top three. Number one is vitamin A becoming deficient, which is really common. Doing an organ meat can suit you really well. Doing something like a liver glandular, grass-fed and finished source, link is a mile there. Pair that with some white peony. That could be an issue here too. Can have some androgen dominance going on, to where you're holding on to whether it be testosterone or DHT or one of those anabolic hormones. There, we all have them. We all have the same hormones. Actually, people don't think of it that way, but we do. There's just different amounts, but that can be an issue. Vitamin A deficient, you can have improper conversion of things going on hormonally there, or there can be some microbial involvement. Sugar is also a thing here too. So there's a lot. There's a lot. So the acne thing. Hello. That's funny. All right. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Handsome doc. There we go. I have hypertension at the age of 20, which is quite young to have it. I agree. I'm taking meds. I would wonder if anybody helped you figure out why this is happening. why you have high blood pressure. Um, because that's what we need to figure out. I think a lot is to do around stimulants, a lot is to do about stress, food, internally what's going on microbially from a chemical standpoint. There's quite a Pandora's box there, but blood pressure, acid reflux, things like that are the quickest things I see go away personally um, in all my patients. So let us know. Okay, let's bounce back to YouTube here because we had some issues with the stream and now we're back. So freaking heck. Which have less side effects, allopathy or homeopathy? Homeopathy. There's the only side effect with homeopathy is it costs money. That is the only side effect. Supplements do not force your body to do changes. So, you know, there's very little that can go on there. Somebody could be allergic to anything, but you could be allergic to a damn peanut. Depends. Okay. Acid reflux, we handled that piece. Sir, the trigger of acne, us mainly of hormones, androgen in my learning. Could be. Everybody's different though. There's no protocol here for everyone. Run when you hear a protocol, run away. That's the rule there. Protocols do not apply to everybody. You're all different, even twins. I've tested twins, and they've both shown up different. So it's like, dude, it's genetic. Okay, well, for the twins, they've shown up entirely differently. So my skin seems to be aging so fast. Why wrinkles so quick? That's a representation of what's happening internally. So you're oxidizing probably pretty quickly. Also, people with hyperexpressive faces can lead to some things like that. I think castor oil applied topically can help a lot. Gotu kola internally, lemon and lime cut and blended can suit you really well with certain constituents there, and high dose in melatonin for a lot of the antioxidant effects. But that's just kind of guessing. Um, I would want to know some more details. For every one of you, I will always want to know more details. Sir trending. Okay. My doc stated it was passed down from me to my parents. Um, Let me go back to Brandon's original because I kind of forget what he said. Oh, yeah. So, did you have high blood pressure as a baby? Um, because pretty much every one of my patients comes in with that genetic excuse because their doctors couldn't figure out why they had that problem in the first place. So, that drives me nuts hearing that because within probably 2 months, that blood pressure can regulate back to normal, especially if you're at the age you are. So, I highly disagree with that. Highly. Do you deal with mental health? 100%. Because that's a representation of gut health. And your GI makes the majority of your neurotransmitters that make you happy during the day. And pretty much everybody just chases dopamine or serotonin. That's all we're doing throughout the whole day. Is just chasing dopamine and serotonin. Um, GI testing, food allergy testing, really important things there. I would also want to figure out microbially what's going on in terms of yeast, bacteria, parasitic things that can go on there. Other forms of toxicity in the body too, possible deficiencies that can occur. Can you do some more supportive things as of right now? 100%. Can you do some St. John's? Can you do some, what would be really uplifting there? Can you do some St. John's, some OSHA for oxytocin? I actually took OSHA before this live so I can give my heart and soul to you people. We practice what we preach. Kava, California Poppy, getting stressed down, man. For Charlie here, getting stressed down. There's a heck of a lot of tools in the toolbox that you can do from a homeopathy or homeopathic perspective here. A lot of that is getting stressed down and starting to regulate the brain, but then figuring out from a neurotransmitter perspective and even an adrenal perspective why that's happening. Dutch testing, neurotransmitter testing, key things to do. Book a free call. Link is in bio. Check it out, or just order your stuff. But I would want to talk to you first. Intracranial pressure. You're in the right hands dealing with things medically to see this. That is primarily what I would want you to be, seeing those type of people and everything there. that happens that way. So for for that, that's really out of my toolbox here for increased cranial pressure. I mean, you can do some things with chiropractically, but yeah. What are your thoughts on smoking? Ooh, having asthma, don't smoke. Okay. Regular and irregular periods will give us a little more detail there, and I'd love to break things down for you. There's a lot of signaling issues. There's a lot of issues with insulin that can happen there, birth control use, things like that. Okay, popping over to YouTube, giving some love over here. I'll let the TikTok ones build up a little bit. We're doing a do live, just to let you know. So we handled the acid reflux, handled that one. That's a really common one. Camera refocus. Dang it, camera. There we go. Um, okay. Why do I get crazy itching on my legs if I run for a while? I would wonder if you're doing any nicotine. That's really common that I see in patients is patients that are doing nicotine, they will get very itchy when they start working out because those blood vessels are now dilating and you're starting that sweat process. So I would wonder if that's happening. Um, Ambulopic eye, been to a few docs. None of them can help. Can you tell me something that they may not know? I think blue light is affecting everybody more than we think. Blue light, especially I have children coming in with cataracts. I have children under 10 years old coming in with cataracts. So I just wanted to repeat that for everybody. um, we are not blinking nearly as much as we would normally. So, like, let me pull this up. So, a normal blinking pattern throughout the minutes is around 20 times a minute. When you're looking at your phone, that goes down to about 3 to 5 times per minute that you're blinking. So you're blinking a very small piece of the time, and then you're spending 8 to 10 hours on a screen every day, and you're inflamed and you're deficient in things. So yeah, your body's going to age very quickly, and not be able to deal with things and repair stuff. So blue light glasses, number one. Vitamin A, number two. Something like liver glandular, blue light glasses. I know we can change some of the things that you have going on. I would also want to see some labs, see what's going on internally here. But yes, our next question: how do I stop caffeine addiction? It is a drug, so it will always be addictive. In a week, I need to fast, so no food from the sun up to sundown. But I need that to boost my energy. Any suggestions? Caffeine's highly addictive. It's a drug, and you can support some things with cyclic AMP, like Coleus or something like that, but it's a drug, so it's addictive, or it's an addictive drug, so it's going to be addictive. So, yeah. Sir, fungal acne should avoid yeast extract. Yep. Melatonin kill works better for sleep deprivation. It could if you're deficient. What do you do when you have insomnia? You stop looking at your phone. You get some blue light glasses. Um, you want to do something like alcidonia and melatonin pair together as you cut out the blue light. And there's settings you could change on your phone. You can get glasses. You can do all this stuff. But in the bio, alcidonia, ALCEDONIA, and melatonin. I would do a little bit higher dosing of melatonin and take the full alcidonia dose to probably an hour and a half before bed. Get your phone out of your hands an hour and a half before bed, unless you're going to get blue light blockers. Don't eat 4 hours before bed. Advice for somebody hypermobile, Ehlers-Danlos. So this usually has a lot to do with copper toxicity within the body. I would wonder birth control use, things like that. 16 to 21 is the average. Yes. Where are you from? I'm from New Jersey. Blue light glasses, vitamin A. What about magnesium? Magnesium could be helpful. I don't know though. I don't know for sure. I don't know enough details to have that there. I like how I have like a note taker in the chat here because I guess do I go too fast? Is that thing? Like, am I saying these things too quick? Let me know. We got to make this doable for you guys, right? Oh my God, why are you asking me about Stranger Things, bro? I don't waste my time watching Netflix. I progress my life and the others around me and patience. Are you satisfied with Stranger Things, dude? I don't even know. No, I don't waste my time with freaking Netflix. Anyways, how about we finish up the rest of this article as we're waiting for questions to fill in here? Because I ran through them all as quickly as we could. So we'll let them build up here. So we left off talking about cardiac arrhythmias. So people that have POTS, people have irregular heartbeats. I was somebody that had this too. It had a lot to do with my GI, had a lot to do with mental stress. I was in grad school, all those things. We talked through some mineral repletion that you can do, things like magnesium, things like potassium citrate, some electrolyte blends that you can get, something like Ultima. They have some awesome flavors there too, and you don't have to worry about doing some of these things individually. But there is mitochondrial support and some of that membrane support that you can do, especially for the heart. I do like glandulars here. I do like taking in cardiac tissue. So for, can you do that? 100%. You could do some CoQ10, another beneficial thing you can do there as well. That'll have um, just some support for that electron transport chain, energy delivery in high demand tissues like the heart. So you can do some of that. In terms of calming some of the signal down and having more, adaptogenic properties, California poppy, ashwagandha, beautiful for getting stressed down, if that is where it's coming from. Obviously, a lot of this is going to revolve around why is it happening, not what protocol do I give you. Once again, for the new people jumping in, zero protocols done here. That is not how the body works. You are not a blueprint. You do not have a script of what you should be taking. I know medicine has taught you that, but you're sick with all these problems, so we need to change our perspective. This can involve thyroid tissue as well, deficiencies in iodine, halogen exposure, bromine, chlorine, um, fluoride, all those things that are going to downregulate thyroid function, lead to some of those issues with signaling, things like that. Obviously, from a lifestyle perspective, there's a boatload that you can do here. Um, some lifestyle things, even training some of the adaptations that can go on. You want to do your box breathing. That's a good one for anybody with heart palpitations, arrhythmias. That can help regulate some things. Sleep is going to be massive. You do want to screen for some sleep apnea things and make your room as dark as possible. Make it as cold as possible, to be quite honest. Between like 60 and 90 minutes before bed is going to be optimal. In terms of movement, you want like zone two type of movement. This is a walk or a light cycling, exercise there. Somewhere around that 30, 40-minute mark, 3 to 5 times a week. You don't want to do crazy, crazy sessions. You can do a couple, 2 or 3 strength training days in there. And then obviously hygiene for some of the nervous system involvement. Morning sunlight is key. That signals everything in your body. Um, Midday outdoor breaks too. Stepping outside for a minute, even when during the workday, things like that, during a lunch break, you can do some boundaries for late night scrolling. Setting a bedtime timer um, is great. So either way, where you want to be starting is by getting some labs done for crying out loud. That way we can know why this is happening. So, but we finally ran through the arrhythmia article. And now let's head back to the chats. So we covered the caffeine, stupid Stranger Things thing, Breaking Bad bullshit. How should I start? Knee inflammation, tight calves. Boswellia, fantastic. Turmeric, fantastic. Any physical injury, I love those two. Some bone broth protein powder could be awesome too, so that you can get hyaluronic acid and a lot of the constituents that the joint tissue needs, especially on its surface. Um, that could be really beneficial as well. But yeah, I would want you to cut your sugars. I would want you to find where you're stubbing your toe, so to speak, in terms of inflammatory things that go on there. Okay, Laney popping in here. How we doing, Lane? What's up? Haven't seen you in a minute. Um, okay, how to cut out sugar? Any sups? So in terms of cutting out sugars, if you're really struggling with this, you want to get breads, pastas, potatoes, a lot of the starchy things, a lot of the grains. Just get them out of there. They're not good for absorption of things. They will remove other minerals, other key nutrients out of the body in the process of eating them. By the way, they have anti-nutrients in there, and they can be very highly inflammatory depending on which ones you're doing. So, safe zones for sugars are going to be things like fermented cabbage, berries, avocados, great sources there. But if you go to the wellnessway.com or just send me a DM, I'll send you a whole free guide on that. Supplementation, I do like Gymnema. I have been talking about this repeatedly every day. Oregon grape, beautiful thing. Something like blood sugar glandular, that one's out of stock, so you can do some digestive glandular in there. That'll have pancreas tissue in there as well. Um, so Gymnema, Oregon grape, digestive glandular, getting your starches, your grains out of there, increasing fiber, increasing proteins, moving your body, doing some resistance training so that that muscle can use up all that sugar. But yeah, and you obviously, if you really want to get fancy, you can support your liver and do things there too, because you're going to have to convert those lipids down, things like cholesterol, triglycerides, stuff like that, which coleus is going to be your main dog for that guy. But Oregon grape is going to help with some of that too. So, man, we're gonna be rocking this stream until we run out of battery here, and my mics are all plugged in, so I can't charge my phone. Oh no! But let me do a quick little battery check. Yep. Oh, 15%. Okay, so I'm gonna rapid fire through these, see what we can do. Okay, doke. I really have difficulty falling asleep after 3 to 11 p.m. hospital duty. Yeah, so graveyard shifts. Graveyard shifts are a either type 1 or type 2 carcinogen. Probably one of the most detrimental things you can do because you're in completely disrupting the circadian rhythm and your sleep. High dose melatonin, high dose melatonin, 6 to 9 milligrams. That's going to help a lot with the brain. Probably doing something like Bacopa, but honestly, until you change jobs, this is going to be a problem. What to do about neuropathy? I would do some vitamin B1, fat soluble vitamin B1, and a wellness B complex for these two. Laney saying, hey, hot racing. Oh my goodness. We just covered a whole article on that. Heart racing, feeling out of breath due to feeling anxious. For no reason, my body feels shaky. For Shenik or Chenik, two things: Lincoln Bio, L-theanine, and California poppy. Thank me later. Maybe some potassium citrate too. I would want to know more about you, but you can schedule a free call through the link in bio. We can double check things. Can electric blanket facilitate good sleep? I don't like electric on me when I'm sleeping. Anything else for the neuropathy? Yeah, like I said, a fat soluble B1, also available, link in bio there. Wellness B complex and a go to cola would be my three. And cut your sugars down, get your fiber up, move your body as well. Okay, we're rapid firing. What if it's cloudy? You still want to expose your eyes to that outdoor light, even if it's cloudy. Hi, advice on pulsatile tinnitus. You either have excess sugars going on, maybe some type of infection, possible potassium citrate deficiency. Could be any one of those things. Tips for spider veins, how to get rid of them, how to prevent future ones. Go to cola. You can apply that topically and take that orally. You can do some broccoli sprouts for the sulforaphane. Beautiful research done on that. Cancer researchers have actually tried to patent that to include it within cancer treatments, but they couldn't because it went to the Supreme Court and then got denied for patency because of it being a natural product. And it works so damn well, they said, no, you can't do that. And then they suppressed that information as much as possible. So, pretty interesting there. Um, Once again, broccoli sprouts, a lot of your cruciferous veggies, go to cola, maybe some Neo 40 in there, but oh my God, what was the, yes. So the sprouted veggies, and then you can cut up a lime and a lemon, put a splash of apple cider vinegar in there. So half a lime, half a lemon, cut that up, put it in a blender, apple cider vinegar, put some ice in there, put some Zevia in there or Olipop, drink that every day. And there may be some issues going on with the liver or holding on to some fluids and things like that, and impeding some vascular tissue too. So that could be why as well. But that is a good starting point. Dropping your sugars could definitely benefit you, and you probably want to detox some things. But how to join the queue? I don't do that anymore, so just submit stuff. No queue needed. Whenever I sit on the floor and get up, my entire leg falls asleep. One of your heels could just be putting a lot of pressure on the sciatic nerve, common when you're doing crisscross applesauce. So, okay. Is there a reason why there was only one lesion? I would need to talk to you about more stuff here. There's a lot going on with your case. Okay. Did we get anything relevant in YouTube? Parents, K. I'm alone, K. Answer me, doc. Unless it's a health question, I don't care. Where are you from? I'm from New Jersey. Jesus Christ blesses you. And he blesses you as well. Okay. We ran through it. For the people that need one on one help, there are complimentary calls available through the link in bio. If I answered your questions and you want to snag some of the supplements, unless you're in the US, you cannot get them. I know it's very annoying. I'm very sorry. But yes, for the people I answered stuff for, head to the online store there, link in bio, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, doesn't matter. I will try and be back here again tonight. So I'll try and do TikTok and Facebook because my Facebook channel's been going crazy. So we're going to feed and give them some love there. But yeah, some of you can jump right to a new patient appointment as well, which I discount those during this live from $275 to $99. So check it out. That obviously encompassing a full evaluation. I would want to see your previous labs. We would definitely run new labs based on that new patient appointment. There's a lot of health history questions that I send to you. So please allow um, probably 3-4 days for you to buy some time and have enough time in there to answer everything. But hey, thanks for hanging. That was really good. You guys were awesome, asking some good questions. I do not look African, guys. Come on now. Other than that, hope to see you on later on this evening, and I'll